And welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. We have now reached a point where there are now 6 of these ships in Kerbin orbit, awaiting launch windows to various destinations throughout the solar system. And let's see, the Dres fuel ship, which I believe is this one, is the first up for launch in 23 days, just under 24 days. And let's see, here we have, you see all of them in orbit. There are 6 of them here. And I have given considerable consideration to exactly how to proceed here, because I did load this save up in a copy of this save in a test situation to kind of give a practice run at doing the interplanetary launch burns. And I came to the conclusion that these orbits are just entirely too low to be effective. And there is also a question of how much fuel is available for the launch. Now, I did spend a few hours trying to come up with a different vehicle, a new vehicle for boosters. And after a bunch of trial and more error than I care to think about, I decided that it would make more sense to just use the XD Drive Mark V again, perhaps with a slight modification, I haven't decided yet, and use that, bring it up to orbit, dock that ship onto the aft end, use it to raise the ship in question up into a higher orbit, and then from there use that as a booster stage, basically, to get the whole thing going into orbit. It would use up most of its fuel, undock, it would then be free to return to Kerbin, and this portion of the ship would proceed along the rest of the flight. And what I found out about the orbits is basically it's entirely too low, because the burn would start, well, basically using this orbit at this height. The maneuver would be somewhere approximately here, and the burn with 4 nuclear engines carrying that much mass. This ship weighs right now, information here, 182 tons. And for that much mass to be accelerated fast enough to get onto the course we want it on, the burn would have to start back here. And in doing that, it brings the periapsis really low here, like 40-some kilometers. You get a bunch of atmospheric loss on velocity, and basically the thing would require a couple of very long burns to get it out there, and it would probably still have problems. So I figured the best thing to do is to just raise the orbit of these things from the current, 100 kilometers out to at least 200, 250 kilometers, and then launch it from that orbit. And so that's pretty much what I propose to do. And also, I have an update for anyone who has been keeping track of the stats that I've been putting on screen with every launch and crash and killed in action. As of right now, with all of the launches required, remember 4 launches for each one of these ships to get it in position. So right now, the status as of right now is 45 launches total since this program began back in 0.18. There have been 19 landings, and if you include the crew of the Mayflower, a grand total of 11 Kerbals killed in action. And unfortunate, but I've seen Kerbal Space Programs that have had far worse stats and far more Kerbals killed in action, so I'm going to go with that. In the meantime, it's time to adjourn to the Space Center, dig out another XD Drive Mark V, and launch that to rendezvous with the Dres fuel ship, since that's the first one on the launch window, the first launch window that will open. We're going to ship dock to that and get that thing into a more appropriate orbit. Alright, here we are. On the launch pane we have Kerman and Kerman piloting this one. And as I said, I'll meet up with you at docking. And here we are, just about to dock as we cross into the night side. And we're about 7 meters from the target port. A little bit of fine tuning here and we should be docked. And then we can get this thing in position for its eventual burn to Dres. Looking good. A nice easy 0.3 meters per second. And here we go. SAS off. If we just bounce off here, looks like we did. Okay, thrust forward a bit, try again. Coming in at 0.1 meters per second this time. Docking clamps grab hold, and we are docked. All right. Now we can see about getting some fuel transferred here. Let's get the lights fixed. Go ahead and have them all on right now. Okay, one of the things that I had forgotten about with this ship is that in the center down here, there is another fuel tank that needed to be topped off. So we'll start there. Okay, I'm going to disable flow from this engine and from that fuel tank. And this booster thing here can use that as its return to Kerbal fuel. Alright. Meanwhile, all the rest of these tanks are full. And everything is go. Let's see, how about this thing? It used a bunch of fuel getting into position, so let's top those off. All 4 of them. And yes, we're getting about 5 frames per second with all of these 3 things docked together, so it's going to be slow. So I'll make a cut and get these tanks refueled and I'll be back. Alright, all the fueling operations are completed, and I've also disabled all of the engines on these craft and all but 2 of the engines on this one. And let's see now, let's get in here and we will go control from here. And then let's flip back out here. And where is our ship? Alright, there we are, Dres fuel. Might as well schedule the burn here at apoapsis. And we will raise the orbit to about 250. Well, maybe not 344. That'll do right there. 249 will be just fine. All right. Now, Smart ASS, Smart Automatic Space Steering System. Get the ship oriented on the maneuver node, and we will burn that maneuver in 10 minutes. Alright, now let's warp around to our burn time and get this thing done. I'm going to assume about at least T-minus 15 seconds for burn. You see in the distance here a couple of other ships. It's actually almost getting crowded in this orbit. Give it some time to get back into maneuver position. It's drifted off a little bit. And our wonderful 4 frames a second here, with all of these parts going on. Lag Spain is working overtime. Okay, jump ahead a little bit more. All right, and we burn. This thing into a 250 kilometer orbit, and I believe we'll have a much better time when it comes time for the Dres transfer burn. I can see I should have started the burn at about 1.5 to 2 minutes, but I think this will be all right. Have a look at our burn progress here. Yeah, I don't think we'll have a problem. Nice and stable thanks to the quantum struts holding everything together. No unwanted fishtailing and wobbling. Oh, wait a minute. I should re-enable flow from that tank because I had it disabled for liftoff. Yeah. Okay, I'll be back when our burn is completed. Alright, we're about 30 seconds away from the end of the burn, and I realized something, that while I had these fuel tanks, this one and the one on its opposite number over there, disabled, I didn't need to have the engine disabled because it could still draw fuel from the jumbo. So I got them both re-enabled, and the burn is going a whole lot faster this way. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I didn't. Okay, 23 seconds of burn remaining. 20 seconds, that is. Get this one done, get around to the other side and circularize, and then we can replot the course to Dres. Almost there. Close enough. All right. All right, maneuver node done. Set up a new one here. Circularize. Almost there. 251 by 250. That's good enough for me. All right. Okay. I'll let this thing get aligned with the node, and we'll warp time ahead to about 2 minutes before the node, and we'll get this next burn done. All right, we're just about 2 minutes from the burn, and the burn is estimating at 1 minute 49 seconds total. I'm going to split that in half and go 55 T-minus 55 seconds to start the burn. Warp time just a little bit more here. And that'll give us our 250 kilometer orbit. From there, recompute the Dres course, because the different departure altitude does make a difference. And then we can, well, what I'll end up doing is performing this same maneuver with all of the remaining 5 spacecraft. And I think I'm going to do that off camera, just simply because it's going to take a while. All totaled, roughly about an hour for each flight. And we burn. Alright, I'll be back when it's done. Alright, we have just a few seconds left in the burn here. Throttle back and not overshoot. Alright. Okay, turn that off. Have a look at our orbit here. 251 by 250. Excellent. Get rid of that. And now we have our Dres fuel launch in 23 days, but that assumes that the launch will be happening from about, I think it was at 100 kilometers or so, and since altitude does make a difference, go ahead and delete that alarm. And we will plot a new course, maneuver planner. Transfer to another planet. Let's see. Let's get Dres selected as the target. Alright, create node at the next transfer window. And that transfer is in 23 days, 18 hours. with an estimated burn of 21 minutes and 52 seconds. Alright, we will add an alarm. Dres fuel launch, 10-minute notice is good for this. And I'm going to put in here 21M55S as a reminder for what the length of the burn should be. Add the alarm. Alright. And now, zooming back in, we have the Lathe and Moho ships, Elu, Duna, Eve, all needing to have the same treatment. And I will take care of that off camera because it would get painfully repetitive otherwise. So, in the next episode, we will start actually launching these ships on their interplanetary journeys. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.